0.
Dyer wave. The scientific method cannot justify the scientific method. Therefore, it itself is a dogmatic religious presupposition.
I was jamming out to that Dyer wave. That's too bad I had to come over here to this side of the house.
How you doing, dude?
Good. Good. I was just trying to troll your people in the comments over there in the chat room.
Good. They love it. They love
They
it.
did. They did love it.
I'm trying to figure out where to put you. You can be our. You can come sleep in the bed between us at night in the middle. Yeah, I'm trying to space you correctly. I can't do it.
If you scoot over more that way.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
All right. How's it going, Isaac?
What's going on, man? Pleasure to hook up with you guys again. We've been treading on similar ground lately, so that's cool. Seems like we're hitting on something, right? Keep crossing paths, so that's good. I was on Chrissy Mayer's show with you as well, right?
Yes. Yeah.
She told me you guys recorded.
Yeah, we had to talk about geopolitics and what's going on with all this crazy attempts to kind of illuminate, destroy the United States, perhaps bring it to its next phase in the technocracy. So we talked about that and how fake flags work, and then, I still can't get used to.
Yeah, that's kind of scary because
I
that's
want to make you really tiny, because then if you're really tiny, I can't take you seriously. You're just like a little bitty Isaac.
Little cock Isaac.
I'm sorry. I'm kidding. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to your installment, and we just listened to your VMAs and your Marxism Black Magic talk. We were enjoying those.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we can get into that territory a little bit. If you guys wanted to talk Beyonce, Disney, UFOs, it's kind of a mix mash of the BLM movement with the Black Panther with Beyonce's Black is King.
Yeah, Jamie has quite a bit on Beyonce, and she watched that whole. Have you seen that Disney UFO documentary?
No. Which
if
one?
Not, it's okay, but we're going to bring that into it because there's this mysterious, quasi-mysterious Disney UFO documentary from the 90s, and it was kind of underground, and people whispered about it for a long time, and then it finally got put up on YouTube, and it's a bunch of propaganda, obviously, but it's relevant to what we're talking about.
Yes, I want to hear more about that. No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so maybe we'll talk about Beyonce for about 40 minutes, and then we'll talk about the Disney UFO documentary.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, however you guys want to run it.
Okay.
So I'm not super up on Beyonce. You guys know way more about about Bey than I do. You guys are in the Church of Bey. I'm not, so you're gonna have to initiate me into Bey. So tell me what I need to know here.
Are we starting?
Yeah, you guys can start. Yeah, we're live.
Oh, we're live now.
We've been live.
Oh.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hey,
hello.
what's
Yeah, whoever wants to start out. You want to start out, Jamie?
Yeah, let's go off
A lot
my
to talk
notes,
about
and
with
then you
Beyonce.
guys can just follow me and chime in whenever I'm being boring. So I listened to your show about the Beyonce movie Black is King, and it was really good. And the first thing I wanted to ask you, what is a UAP?
Yeah, so that it's curious that we're going through disclosure part 2, where they're reversing course and now telling us aliens exist. So for them to do this, like any psyop propaganda, they first have to redefine the terms. It's kind of a bit of a occult initiation ritual where it's, separating someone from the world they previously knew. It's kind of like that, where everyone knows what a UFO is, but it has too much stigma attached to it because they spent so many years telling us that UFOs weren't real. But
It
for
sounds
whatever
goofy
reason,
now, right?
yeah, now it's like kind of a joke.
Mm-hmm.
So like they're going to refine the term as UAP in order to redefine it and make it more believable and scientific, because science is the new religion, which will give way to Luciferianism, I believe, eventually. So Tom DeLonge and To the Stars Academy and Disney, of course, is behind. Just like Disney they were behind this in 1953 with that Robertson panel that specifically called out that Disney should be behind the propaganda and the psyop of talking about UFOs to the public. They're behind it again, I argue, because Disney, of course, 90% of the media is controlled by 6 companies, and one of them is, Disney owns History Channel, which has many shows doing public disclosure.
Ancient Aliens. That's all.
Yeah, Ancient Aliens, which has been prepping us for years. And it's funny because, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, I wrote my first book. And at the time, it was still a fringy conspiracy idea to believe in the concept of extraterrestrial life. And now it's completely opposite, because I think Ancient Aliens has indoctrinated the masses with this pseudoscience, which makes sense when you really dig into it, because people think, oh, it's just silly. But if you look at the research of neuroscientist Jeffrey Sachs, he talks about this idea of cognitive models. And basically the very short version of it, from what my layman understanding is that our brain doesn't really know the difference between real and fake. So when they blur the lines of reality with a show like Ancient Aliens, your mind kind of doesn't know if it's real or not. Like, it's kind of like a superhero movie. Like, you watch it and you know it's not real, but your mind doesn't really know that yet.
Mm-hmm.
It builds these models up.
Mm-hmm.
And then it requires other parts of the brain to sort of negotiate to be like, no, that was just a movie. And you kind of get that with Ancient Aliens.
Yeah, I'm thinking about people who take in the information and it's something new to process, and it's something that is opposed to creationism because it's more like genetic mixing between aliens and Bigfoot, and that's where humans come from. So that's another reason people might want to believe in that, because it goes against the creation theory.
Yeah, the whole panspermia concept is what they're going to move towards. The idea that we were seeded from an alien race. They're already laying the foundations for that. If you read, Tom DeLonge and Peter Levenda wrote a book called Secret Machines. The first volume, I think it's called God's Man and, hold on, I gotta look, God's Man and War. And when you read it, it's clearly written by Peter Levenda. If you've read his stuff, you'll immediately be like, oh, this is Peter Levenda's writing, because he's very intelligent. He knows the whole deal. And in that book, they kind of lay the roots for a third book, which they basically say they're going to tell you and prove panspermia in the third book, which hasn't been released yet. Pardon me, by the way, my throat is completely wrecked. Our air in Utah is garbage right now because of the wildfires in California.
Oh, wow.
So I've been drinking this great pumpkin spice tea to get through.
What does UAP stand for?
It's an unexplained aerial phenomenon.
Unexplained aerial phenomenon. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's funny because the whole disclosure movement there, they're not specifically coming out and saying that they've got proof of alien artifacts necessarily, but they're kind of dropping pieces of the puzzle here and there. Like for instance, Dr. Diana Pasulka's book, American Cosmic, she had lots of, checks and balances on that book. And she relays her experience working with this sort of secret society of people that believe in UFOs and work on UFO, science stuff. And they actually have artifacts. They said it's not a belief system because it's real to them, because it's real. Because they said, we've got pieces of this metal alloy from outer space or from another planet. It's not a belief system for us. And when I interviewed her for my podcast, and she said that that she got blindfolded and taken out to what they call the sacred place. This is a place in New Mexico where a UFO crashed, and it's not Roswell, it's not Aztec, it's not what's it called, Sirocco or Sonora or whatever. It's supposed to be some other place, right? Which has a lot of connections to Epstein, which I think personally, when you look at Epstein with Zorro Ranch out there. Anyhow, when they blindfold her, they take her out there. She goes out there, and she said that they do prayers out there. And I stopped her. I said, prayers to who? And she said, I don't know. They didn't I didn't hear anything about it. Like, I think it was more of a vague general prayer, which makes sense when you look at the idea of where they're going with this cosmic consciousness stuff and, this vague impersonal God. But what I found even more curious was that she said they had stone altars out there, just like the Stonehenge, right? Which were sort of laid out like human sacrifice, ritualistic stone altars. And I wonder for why are they, and that's what seeded. I wrote this book. I'm still proving the proof, called Aliens, UFOs, and the Occult. The Kindle version's out now, but the paperback I screwed up. I got to redo the proof. It'll be out in a couple weeks, and the audiobook, of course, on Audible. But in the book, I have a section on adrenochrome, and I try to be the more rational voice in the conspiracy world, but to me, I hear about stone altars out there. These nerds are worshiping aliens and praying to them. And I think, is there a connection here? Because if you read Peter Levenda's book and Tom DeLonge's book, they have a whole section about human sacrifice and the history of it. Why did they put that in there? They're talking about UFOs.
We're going to get to that in a minute, because one of the end of your show was that they're going to go back to the old religion, which involved human sacrifice.
Yeah, that's what I foresee happening. Yeah. I mean, like, what do I
too.
know?
Yeah.
But yeah, right. Like everything we see points us towards installment of the old religion, not, it's weird. A lot of people don't, when you're in this sort of field of study as we all are, it seems very obvious, but like to the common person, I think they have this general movie sense of like, oh, in the future, it's going to be like, maybe it'll be like this impersonal God. But everything they do in the occult is to pay reverence to sort of like old pagan traditions
Mm-hmm.
and Luciferian ideas oftentimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of think, yeah, that's very possible that where they're going with the human sacrifice or even
Yeah.
messing with the kids.
If you go to the Disneyland, what's the one with the zoo called?
Animal Kingdom.
So we went to Animal Kingdom, and it was the undertone was very religious, pushing people towards animism and tribalism and worshiping the old ones and the spirits of the earth and all that.
Really?
So I want to talk about Lion King real fast because Beyonce did the music. Well, Black is King kind of mirrors the Lion King a little bit. There's elements of the movie in there. Did you catch that?
It's funny. I've never seen Lion King.
I know, so I want to explain this to you. That's why. Because I love the cartoon when I was a kid, and then I went back and I watched the live-action CGI Lion King. And it became so super apparent to me, and I can't believe that I never got this before. But the scene where Simba has to leave his lion pack, what's it called? A pride?
A pride.
He has to run away and he's an outcast. He's actually going to be raised by homosexual men because Timon and Pumbaa are a couple, and they make it super obvious in the live action movie more so than they did in the cartoon. But the song they sing, the Hakuna Matata, remember that?
Mm-hmm.
No worries and all that, what they are talking about is the homosexual lifestyle. And so anybody in the chat has watched the live action version and caught that as well, you can pop in and tell me, but it was really obvious to me. And so that's
interesting. I've never seen the cartoon. I've never seen the live action. Like many people know my story. I didn't grow up on Disney, so like I never got into it.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, the only Disney thing that I watched growing up was Alice in Wonderland because my babysitters brought it over one time, and like it completely blew my mind. I was like, "What is this? What am I missing?" Because I had a weird upbringing. I pretty much watched whatever my dad watched. So it was like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, and like we didn't mess around with Disney. So I don't have a good feed. I know my man Skinny Fresh sent me a link. Bill Cooper did a whole show on Lion King. I'm about halfway through it. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the stuff I don't know the storyline. So
yeah, I loved it when I was a kid. I love the cartoon and the art and the colors and everything. But when you watch the live action one, it's really obvious. So another thing that you noticed that I wouldn't have noticed was her costumes in Black is King. One of her costumes was a red rope dress that was actually also in the movie Suspiria. You remember that? The new remake of Suspiria?
Yeah, and it has like a sort of inverted pentagram on it, right? And
and it's not even like that. It's like the exact same dress.
yeah, right. Like it's not even like, it's very strange how it's the same exact identical. And I think it fits into the overall, there's people always say that symbolism will be their downfall, and like they are obsessed with doing this stuff. And like, to me, I think they're targeting the Black culture. I know having three white people talk about Black culture is what is appropriate, right? But to me, I think they're targeting Black culture because there's this sort of triple event that transpired. You have the BLM movement, and you have Black Panther, and then you have Beyonce. All three very influential in the Black community movements, right? For empowerment, whatever, what have you. But when you take a step back and look at the aims of all three of these components, you can see that they are targeting the Black community to push them into the New World religion.
Yes.
And it's kind of like, I don't know if this is a good comparison, but like, it's kind of like when you're in the military, they give you vaccines. Like I guarantee they'll be the first ones to get this COVID experimental vaccine.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's almost like they're like, oh well, we'll mess with the people that are the most vulnerable that we can mess with, and it's almost like a testing environment for them. I would argue, I don't know, I'm just hypothesizing it, but I would argue that's like, because it's very clear to me because
the stabbies, you mean?
Oh, sorry, yeah,
It's
my
okay.
bad,
The
my bad.
stabbies. We know what you mean.
Indeed. Because, and let me try to put a quick encapsulation on this. The BLM movement, the founders of that are very clear, and they don't mince their words when they talk about how it's a spiritual movement. They even said it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
many
right.
times.
They were talking about the spirit invocation.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys covered all this already, but like they're very clear that this is a spiritual movement and that it's a Marxist movement, which makes no damn sense because Marxism gives no room for religion at all. So like I don't know why no one has asked them that question because anyone who knows about Karl Marx and all of his stuff, like religion was a big problem according to him. So what the BLM founders, they sort of pay homage to this African pagan religion, and right or wrong, like I don't care. Like if people want to worship that, like, that's cool, whatever. I don't care. It doesn't bother me any. But like, it's interesting how they're sort of sneaking it in the back door because a lot of African Americans are Christians, and from the BLM standpoint, they say, well, it's because the white people enslaved us and brought us over and tore us from our true roots and our true religion.
Yes, there was what was that quote? Have to go back to the old religion of human sacrifice. No, they said Christians have taken their solar religion. Is what they said. And turned
Oh, okay, yeah. Then that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And they're talking about like the Orishas and
Yes.
the Yoruba tribes and stuff.
Yeah, because I wanted to bring this up. When Jay and I first met, I had just written The Weird Stuff Part 2, and there's a chapter in there about Hollywood or rock and roll and voodoo. And Robert, what's his name? The Crossroads.
Johnson.
Yeah. And so I was like really big into studying voodoo for like 6 months or something because I wanted to learn as much as I could about it. And nobody was interested in this stuff. They didn't believe me. They thought, oh, voodoo is just something for movies. It's just some weird, like fringe. It sounds crazy. But now she is talking about the Orishas. She's saying, I am Oshun, which is a voodoo goddess. She's saying, I am Yamaya, another voodoo goddess. She, when she made that album, the one after Beyonce, where she was wearing that yellow dress, there was a lot of voodoo elements in that. Do you remember?
Yeah, Lemonade, yeah.
Lemonade, that's it, yeah.
Now, what's curious, since we're talking about that, let me dig through my notes. They said, I did some research here, right? And okay, there's a connection here, right? For the BLM stuff. So they said that so when you look at their religion, they're talking about it's a pagan pantheon. And in that pantheon, you've got a hierarchy of entities of worship or whatever you want to call it. You got the supreme deity at the top, then you got the Orishas, and then you got the ancestors. And these are kind of like the integrated ascended masters of theosophy and that. And in the BLM, the group what these women practice, they're summoning their ancestral gods, right, is what they believe. And they say that we speak their names and you invoke that spirit, and then their spirits actually become present with you. Now, look at what Beyonce has been doing with, like, the first time we saw her as the Oshun, the Yoruba water goddess, was at the Grammys, and there was a big to-do about it, and the media was quick to be like, oh my God, she's so great, and she's the goddess, and this is what this, she's paying homage to this African religion. They started planted the seed that she's the goddess, right? Well, in that same vein, if you look at Black Panther, the god, and they refer to similar African religions. They have a god called Bast in the storyline, and I looked it up. And in the Wakanda universe, it's obviously fictional, but like this is based off a real thing. The god of the Wakanda universe is Bast, and they say that it's a female. She was a mortal who became divine through apotheosis by being worshipped, which to me, it's almost like they're trying to make this happen in reality with Beyonce. If you type in, like, if you Google Beyonce goddess, you will find countless mainstream media articles. Beyonce is the goddess. Beyonce is the goddess, over and over and over. And then it's like, then it's very literal with Yoruba water goddess, which fits into this whole thing.
Yeah, there's scenes in Black is King where there's Africans in their humble huts, and they've got Beyonce on the wall as in place of Mary and Jesus, the Theotokos icon. They have Beyonce and child instead, right?
Yeah. It's very clear to me what they're doing, and the problem is that it's kind of controversial, right? Like, it's almost like you're kind of trying to put down this movement of empowerment, right? And like, that would not be my intention at all. Like, if this is what people want to do, like, whatever. But like, they add a stigma to this, and I mean, Beyonce's drummer years ago.
Thank you.
She was her drummer for like 7 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
She was going public with these things saying that Beyonce was doing witchcraft and dark magic and doing all these magic spells, and she was killing cats, which is what Aleister Crowley did, by the way. And I don't know if all that's true, but it sure is curious how she's like, apparently, she's at the very least familiar with these concepts she's putting out there. In fact, in Black is King, she's reading a book that says African gods and kings or something like that on the book cover.
So you found something super good, and it was from Violetara.com about Babylon and Queen Bee. Can you explain that?
Oh, yeah, that was interesting.
It just merged everything together perfectly.
Yeah, and it kind of shocked me, honestly. I thought it was very strange. And we kind of need to lay a little bit of foundation work here. We'll start with the whole the whole idea of the rock diamond, right? The whole thing with the triangle.
Yeah.
Called the rock diamond. A lot of people are, if you're an old person like me, remember Jay-Z was doing this a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And then Beyonce started doing it. Well, in this show, in Black is King, she does it. The children also do it. And, it's a whole thing, right? So now, traditionally, we would talk about this as the triangle of manifestation, a ritual magic concept, the idea of channeling spirits, right? Channeling energies through the triangle.
Yeah.
Now, somebody's going to clip that of me doing that, and they're going to be like, We got him exposed. Finally caught him, dude.
Yeah, someone gift that, please. So what's curious is that symbol, besides, because it's ritual magic, obviously the Ordo Templi Orientis, a magical group, they use this during their rituals. And if you look in a book called Liber 6, it shows that this is the sign of the fourth degree of the fire goddess. And the fourth degree for the fire goddess is a reference to Venus, which, side note, curious enough,
Lucifer.
Lady Gaga's on the cover of Billboard, and I'm working on a little show I'm going to do about that, but you'll see that she's on as the Scarlet Woman on top of what appears to be sort of like the beast, but also on her right hand, she's got a black skull ring and then a big rose ring, and then the text says something like her stars rising or something like that, and then it says something about how she rose to fame or something like that. Mm-hmm. And there's two references to the rose right there, and the rose is again symbolic of the Venus, of the goddess, because you'll see this often with all these big names like Beyonce and Lady Gaga. They are sort of channeling energies of the goddess through these artists.
And Venus is Lucifer in the feminine.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because sorry, my apologies again. Yeah, because like ultimately, I think this all does go into Luciferianism.
Mm-hmm.
But the what was curious when I was researching, because I kind of like sometimes I'll dig through these documents, and I dig through the OTO's Liber 4, and it says for other attributes, see 777, referring to Liber 777, which is like just a big code book of different weird things and ideas and symbols and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
And
you
code.
said, let me interrupt for a
Yeah.
second. You said something so funny, which I totally agree with, is like when you start looking at ritual magic and all this stuff, it just starts to sound like gobbledygook, and these people are off their rocker. Like at first glance, it looks super mystical, and people have put a lot of thought into this, and you know, like the mathematics of it and everything. But then the deeper you dive into it, it just sounds so stupid.
Yeah, and it's true, right? Like, cause like I remember years ago trying to look through these these references and being like, how does anyone even read this stuff? Like,
Yeah.
even to this day, like
Because
I can't read a whole Crowley
at
book
first
cover to
you
cover.
think they're smarter than you, and that's why it doesn't make sense. But then you realize, no, they're just crazy, and I'm
Yeah,
smart.
that's what it seems like,
I remember
right?
when I got that the Golden Dawn book, that big thick like 500 page, 600 page Golden Dawn book. I thought it was going to be really interesting, and you realize that all it is like they're just taking and cribbing a bunch of older different rituals and kind of making up a new ritual from old rituals.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's authentic is what I'm trying to say. So a lot of these groups will then try to like go back and find the authentic version of whatever tradition.
Yeah, there's something. It's kind of like maybe the Necronomicon or something. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm sure someone who's like spent their whole life researching this, it makes sense to them. So like, I just look at it, try to make sense of it, and pull out any kind of references I can. So I was digging through, and 777 is an important number. It's the number of the Holy Trinity, but it's also the number of Crowley's symbol he has for the Star of Babylon,
Mm-hmm.
which is a 7-pointed star. And it's and what's curious is that Babylon, spelled Babalon, was purposefully adjusted from Babylon, which means the gate of gods,
Mm-hmm.
by Crowley when he created the rituals for this stuff, because he was basing it off of the Enochian language that John Dee and Edward Kelly were using to talk to spirits and angels and stuff. And they had this grid, and in gematria, Balon equals 156.
Mm-hmm.
And all these things are important because the 777, you'll notice when you look at that Star of Babylon sigil, it's all over it. It's in different forms. You got 77 and then 7, and then you also have the 777. But this idea of the Babylon, it's what I would maybe refer to as a reverse ritual, where they're trying to bring about the end times, I'd argue,
Yeah.
and they're using the Bible and the Book of Revelation as a sort of recipe book,
Yeah.
maybe. Like,
Yeah, I've said that before too.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how else to explain it, but it seems like they're trying to create an energy to bring about the end times.
Yeah.
So anyway, to answer your question there, when I went to that website, violettara.com, because I was researching Babylon and the Scarlet Woman of Thelema, this article said, I got the quote here, it says, Babylon is described in her aspects as a natural force who embodies both the lust of the spirit and the liberation of human spirit. In sacred geometry, she is the feminine principle. Her equivalent is the flower of life. She's
Yes.
also eternally fertile force, equated to Mother Earth and Gaia.
Yes.
What you see with Beyonce as the fertile Mother Gaia.
Yep.
But the curious part comes next when it says, in the animal kingdom, her incarnation is the queen bee,
Yep.
the mother of all bees in a hive.
Yep.
So obviously, like, queen bee that's been her persona for many years. Because I think they're trying to lay the foundations. I don't think they're trying to like make Beyonce the president of the United States. But I do think that they're using the energies and maybe even using these people to, conduct ritual, channel energy, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
they're the new gods.
Mhm.
And another thing you mentioned was about the elitism and the wealth, because the journey of this little boy. Okay, so in a second we're gonna go through the movie point by point, but there's a lot of material worship going on here, wealth and royalty and opulence. Did you notice that?
Yeah, and there's a part with the Jay-Z's talking, and I think it's Jay-Z talking about the royalty and the bloodline.
Yes.
And I would
They said
argue
bloodlines on the front lines. That's what they said.
Mama. Mama.
yeah, and Obama was hanging out with Jay-Z, Beyonce in Cuba or something, right?
Yeah,
Wasn't there
yeah.
something connected there? I don't remember.
They're close.
But the bloodline is curious because I think that, and to sort of one more point on the idea of them using the energies of these people and ritualistic elements, that 777 that is involved in all that conversation of the Queen of the Star of Scarlet Woman there.
Yeah.
That was actually a movie. I caught a screenshot on my Instagram at Isaac Weishaupt. People can see it. There's a screenshot. You can see they pan the camera real quick past 777 on the wall there. But the other point I wanted to make was I think Beyonce holds a special place in the occult, handlers, because she's again another one of these examples like Katy Perry of a person who started out with like gospel-esque Christian sort of values.
Yes.
And they get something out of turning them out, because like Destiny's Child,
Yes.
that's a name that comes from the Bible, right? something to that effect. It's got a biblical inspiration. I don't know the exact reference, but I know that like that was her roots as like gospel and all that stuff, and then she ditched those losers, and now she's famous.
Is it Frozen?
Something's happening. I don't know what it says. It lost all connection. I don't know if
Oh no, we got technical
they
difficulties.
shut down or did they shut it down?
Yeah, you shouldn't have had me on, man.
So it says live, but it says no data. Let me refresh the page here. Maybe that'll work. Mama.
Is this a super chat night? Is that what this is?
I think we're back now. We do have some super chats, yes.
I don't. What's funny is I don't even know what that means. I just hear you say it sometimes when I listen to your show on the audio feed.
I explained it to you. We had a chat. Remember, you were asking how do you make money on live streams, and it's the people ask the questions.
Are we rolling now?
Is that what they call them though? Why do they call them super
YouTube
chat?
calls them super chat, and then
No, I just call it questions or something. I don't know.
no, it's this. The stream isn't ending. It's just like buffering. I don't know what's happening. Now it says it's coming back. It's either YouTube or the internet. It's not my computer. There's nothing wrong with the computer.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the video. It looks
It's going in and out. It happens sometimes on YouTube.
Good now?
You can try, yeah.
Now it's paused again.
oh dear, you shouldn't have talked about Beyonce.
You said the V word.
Yeah, I did. My bad. You gotta
Volkswagen.
remind me.
Yeah.
Why can't you say Volkswagen?
It's the people's car.
So have other channels had issues today? Anybody know about live streams? I mean, not really much I can do on my end. Let's see.
I got my koozie, my J. Dyer InfoWars koozie. With a white claw in it.
Do you really? I can't see.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, you can't see it. I bought a koozie and Alex Jones sent a bunch of stickers with it. I guess I'm supposed to hand those out. I don't know how that works. Stuff like impeach the Democrats and support your Second Amendment rights. And
So it's working. It's just really poor connection from the internet to YouTube. So the stream health is just poor for some reason.
Okay.
It says it's slowly coming back.
Oh, he says we back. Somebody said.
It says better.
Okay.
Okay, good try
let's
going
keep
again.
going. We were talking about bloodlines. She said bloodline on the front line.
oh yeah, we were talking about blood. Yeah, so there's a
Well,
curious part of
this.
this.
Now it's perfect.
Okay, we good now?
Yeah, go.
So there's a curious part where Jay-Z is talking about this chessboard, and he's talking about the balancing of good and evil, and he says the occult doctrine, almost verbatim. He talks about how good and evil appeared together. Nothing is complete on its own. It's not a battle, it's a conversation.
Yes. So that's the whole checkerboard floor idea, right?
Yeah,
The
and
dark
this
and
is
the light.
this is the whole idea that they espouse all the time, is that you need to sort of ditch these ideas of morality on some levels and embrace that evil isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Right. Now, have you ever heard this? I swear I watched a YouTube or I read something, and the proof is in my notes, which is in a laptop that died that I have to take it to a place to get all the files off it. But have you ever heard that Beyonce was related to the famous voodoo priestess of New Orleans, Marie Laveau?
No, I haven't.
So look into that if you ever want to.
Oh man,
Yes,
I thought I knew it all
because
about
her
Beyonce.
mom, it was through her mom and all that. So it could be true, it could be false. I don't know. But she is saying a lot of witchy things in Black is King. She's saying she has an Ankh charm on a gold chain. She has Oshun energy. She says, I charge my crystals in a full moon. She keeps saying, I am. And that's another name for God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's how the film ends. She repeats it like 3 times or something like that.
Yeah.
And integrated ascended masters is, what that whole faith system of the Yoruba people that she's claiming to be a goddess of, the Yoruba goddess, the water goddess. That's what that's what they're referencing. So I don't know. I mean, is it coincidence? I tend not to think so. I mean, there's too much. Like if she did it one time, maybe, but like she did this at the Grammys, and then Disney's involved, and Disney's got on the movie. You see the falling star crashing into the ground, and the star child.
And that's like a reference to Lucifer, right? Because the Bible says he fell from heaven like lightning.
Yeah, it's very weird. I couldn't believe it was in the. I mean, you could almost just watch the trailer and see half of the stuff. Because when they dropped the trailer weeks before the movie, I saw the trailer and thought, "Holy crap!"
Yeah,
like they're really going hard.
There's a lot of blasphemous things in this movie. What we talked about before about her being the new married icon. It also starts with the floating baby Moses, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
puts the baby in the basket.
Yeah, and in that scene, she puts this the baby Moses in the basket or whatever, and then it's sort of, if I saw it correctly, it sort of fast forwards to when that baby grows up.
Yeah, the movie is actually like the story of this kid's initiation or growing up or whatever. Yeah,
which I do think is what they have in store for their children. Beyonce and Jay-Z's children. They're already. I think Blue Ivy was in a big to-do in this movie. I don't get into the kids stuff, but I know the kids are oftentimes splash the Twitter and people lose their minds because they did something. Who knows what?
Well, they're the new royalty. They're part of the bloodline.
Yeah, and they're already depicting it as such, and I think I do subscribe to that idea that they. If you're the Illuminati or whatever, you're the elites, like clearly you're thinking 20 years ahead, 30 years ahead. I mean, why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So
there's a scene where 2 priests bless the baby on the beach in a pagan ceremony like you would have at a church, your baby baptism, but instead it's in nature. So it's very animistic and pantheistic, right?
Which scene was that? I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it's in the beginning.
Oh.
One at the beginning.
And they're baptized in a.
They're having a ceremony for the baby on the beach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a while ago. I was watching that.
So I wrote down, okay, there's this one god that I found a long time ago, and I'd never heard of him before, and then you brought him up, and I hadn't thought of him since then, and his name was Nodens.
Oh, yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
I forgot all about him. Can you remind me who that was?
Yeah, from what I understand, the Nodens is similar to Typhon.
Okay.
Which is similar to Set.
Right,
And,
okay.
And it sort of represents the adversary.
Yes.
Or the Luciferian sort of spirit of some kind.
Yeah, I'm sure he's in my books somewhere, but I hadn't thought of him since then, and I was like, oh, Nodens, I forgot about that dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of her lyric, you know what? I put, this movie is not for kids.
Yeah, maybe,
Do
yeah.
you think it is?
I think there's a lot of concepts that would probably go over their head. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd rather the kids watch this than like Cuties, you know.
She talks about rooms of your mind. There's a mind control lyric right there.
Yeah. Dissociate the God, what do you call it? The altars and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Or the fractured mind.
Is it back?
Which she had
Just
lots
don't
of
worry about it.
symbolism
I'll
of
tell
that.
you. Keep talking.
There's a scene about the Dogon tribe. The Zulus and the Dogons. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so there's like sigils and things. It could be.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because
Like,
the Dogon, they have the big wooden like mask.
I think those actually might be Zulu, but there was some other things that made me think this was Dogon stuff. And those were the guys who talk about Sirius, and they knew all about the fish
That's a big
people
ancient
right?
alien thing too, right?
Yeah. Let's see. The boy floating in the atmosphere, falling to Earth like Lucifer. Yeah, it had kind of a 2001 scene vibe, because there's that whole part where he's like in between the moon and the Earth.
Yeah, right. And it's like this sort of alchemical wedding or something. I don't know what
Yeah.
they do. It's representing like the Star Child of 2001, which
Yes.
they keep throwing this idea at us, and one of the main ideas is that we need to subscribe to the concept that we came from the stars, we came from the cosmos, and scary enough, they want us to go back, right? They want us to go to other planets.
Yeah. There's a song called Find Your Way Back about her and her daddy, which I found super creepy.
Oh, really?
Did you notice anything about that?
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of the songs because like I don't listen to Beyonce's music, so like it all kind of sounds the same to me.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't remember talking about her father. No.
Yeah, I did not like that.
I know she was.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say she was. She had some other artists on there.
Oh,
One of them,
yeah.
Yeah, the other female rappers, right? And they had the one on there. They were laying in a circle, in like the Enochian circle, which is the same depiction you can see in was it The Devil Rides Out with Christopher Lee, based on Dennis Wheatley's book. Same exact formation of the circle with the X in the center, which is the summoning the Typhon or the Nodens or whatever.
I had a note. My note says, unpleasant rap with a scary girl about replacing worship with sin. I don't know who that rapper is, but I did not like her
I think her name
her
was
lyrics.
her name was Naja. That's what I have in my notes here. Her name was Naja. Yeah,
That was going to be my rapper name when I underwent transition and I became a woman. I was going to be either Lil Queasy or Queen Naja.
Yeah.
So I'm not mad about that.
She's talking about waking up inner demons and talking about going to war, and like that's kind of I think it's the last song before the credits roll.
Yeah.
which I don't know. Like, it seems to fit into this whole chaos out of order thing with the BLM deal, and then the Black Panther, and the way Chadwick Boseman died was very strange. And then in that whole Black Panther movie was very similar. You know, you have this same thread of this African pagan religion in all these elements. So it's like, why this sort of unified front to get people interested in that religion? You know,
Jay-Z had a song about classes of animals. Sheep don't run with lion, and because he is a higher class. Maybe that was a different rapper. I'm not sure if it's Jay-Z, but it was one of the male rappers.
Interesting.
Talking about people as classes of animals.
Yeah, and that's what's funny is like the idea, like even like the Marxist ideas, it's, well, there's always going to be a ruling class, and I think that these elites think they've been given the gifts from God to get to the position they are in. So naturally, they should be the ones to make all the decisions and control, the sheep.
Yeah, exactly.
And keep
the
us
sheep
distracted.
and the goats is what they talk about in the occult, right?
Yeah, you got your slave shall serve mentality from Crowley and stuff, you know.
There was one song sequence where it was all about the leopard print, and in my second book I put like a whole 2-page spread of classic Illuminati mind control symbols in pop culture. And I almost didn't add this one, but I'm glad I did because it keeps popping up. But it is about leopard print because Egyptian priests used to wear a leopard print stole.
Oh, curious.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and the I'm working on this show talking about the raising of Osiris ritual in DC, because I do think there's some elements, and that obviously goes back to the Egyptian myth of Osiris and Isis, and how Osiris was chopped up into 14 pieces by Set, which is again your sometimes referred to as Typhon or Nodens, but it's curious because and this is in Egypt, right? So this is Africa, and they think that, so the pharaohs back then, so they would cut. So the mythology goes that they cut Osiris up into 14 pieces. His consort Isis, she's all bummed out, so she goes and she finds 13 of the pieces. Can't find the penis, so she fashions a golden penis out of like an obelisk. Then she gets Thoth, another god of magic there in Egypt, to magically make it so that Osiris with his fake gold penis can impregnate Isis, and then Isis gives birth to Horus. Thus, Osiris has been resurrected, essentially. And there's this idea like called the Festival of Opet in ancient Egypt, where every pharaoh, when they would assume leadership, they would enter the dome of Isis, and meanwhile, the obelisk would be facing the dome of Isis, and then ritually they would do incantations while the sun energized the obelisk, and it would impregnate the dome of Isis, and the pharaoh would come out as the resurrected Osiris, as the Horus. And strangely enough, that's what they do. And Tom Horn's the guy who he wrote a whole book on this called Apollyon 2012. He asserts that every presidential inauguration, they do this ritual in DC. And if you look at it, and I kind of like fact checked it, and he's right. Starting in 81, Ronald Reagan, who was an occultist on some levels, he changed it so that the president, when they would get inaugurated inside of the Capitol building, which has the dome, which has the Liberty Goddess on top, the president would be inside under the dome, while on the west side of the Capitol building facing the Washington Monument, the big obelisk, the big penis. And meanwhile, just north, the headquarters of the 33rd degree of Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, the Herodome, they allegedly chant incantations while this whole ceremony happens. And exactly at high noon, the presidents take the oath of office while all this is happening. So the obelisk impregnates the dome of Isis, and the president or the pharaoh comes out, and they are the resurrected Osiris, because it all goes back to this old religion of these occultists that they believe in. They subscribe to this stuff.
If you read Manly P. Hall's Secret Destiny of America, you open it up in the first chapter. I forget what the chapter is called, but it's all about the Egyptian pharaohs coming back to rule.
Yeah, and that's been a fantasy of the occult for many hundreds of years. Francis Bacon talked about this as the new Atlantis. Manly P. Hall, which of course I believe Ronald Reagan was like buddies with Manly P. Hall. I could be wrong on that. Yeah.
What's the library? The Manly P. Hall library was donated by. There's some connection between Reagan and the Manly P. Hall library.
Yeah, because I think that's out in L.A. or Hollywood or something, right?
Okay, we're gonna have to do lightning round now because I know you have to go at 9:30. So let's just blow through these.
If he has to go, we can still do the UFO documentary after.
Okay, because I wanted to tell you about this because it was really interesting, and
I want to hear about this.
About UFOs. Okay, so my last notes on Black is King. She's got all the children doing the triangle of manifestation in one scene. She talks about Oshun, bloodlines, basking in wealth with Jay-Z. So this kid that is the subject of the story, he goes through his growth initiation, and at one point he's receiving all of the riches and wealth along with Jay-Z and Beyonce. They have a scene that contrasts the free, sovereign-looking Africans with the Black people of America, which is very ghetto and boys in the hood type. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I watched this maybe 6 weeks ago.
They're saying Black Africans have it a lot better in their pagan, free, spirited tribal living than the Black people in America have it. So
yeah, that seems to be what they're trying to steer African Americans towards. It seems like to me.
There's a song, the Hathor song, which is the cow goddess of ancient Egypt, right? She says, "I see myself as God." I wanted to ask you, why do you think her hair is so long? In a lot of the visuals, her hair is just super, even past her feet, it's a thing.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe signifies some kind of elitism because you wouldn't be able to have that if you didn't have servants?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good take on it.
Yeah.
I didn't even consider that.
Somebody said keys to the kingdom, and I know that is a mind control phrase.
With the key?
Key to the kingdom.
Kathy O'Brien mentions it a lot.
And Fritz Springmeier
mentions that. In other words, you have the key to the trigger words of all of your slaves or whatever.
Yeah. There's a scene where he's floating like he's being abducted, the little boy. There's a scene where she says, "The Orishas hold your hand on your journey." Yamaya and Yoruba. So Yoruba is one of the tribes where the present-day Voodoo comes from. So this is definitely all about ancestor worship, animism, worship of Beyonce and Jay-Z as the new pharaohs.
By the way, real quick, do you remember when we did that Voodoo movie show?
Yeah.
And you read a bunch of books on Voodoo?
Yeah.
So I'll put this in the show description. Everybody, you can go listen to the in-depth analysis that Jamie read all these Voodoo, Yoruba, Condomble books.
Santeria. Yeah, I was all about it for a couple months because things kept lining up and correlating. I'm like, I can't believe this is what rock and roll is all about, because Voodoo is a possession religion. Yeah. And they use the beats of the drums to summon the different spirits, and the different spirits correlate to the types of drum beats that you're going to use. And that's where rock and roll comes from.
Hence why nerdy dudes do the robot, because they're possessed by this robot spirit and they're going to incarnate the technocracy. Okay,
let's get to this weird, obscure Disney documentary that aired on television in 1995. And it was a promotion for a ride called Extraterrestrial Encounter.
Okay, I'm familiar with that ride. I didn't know they had a documentary about it.
A ride that was so scary that they had to take it out of the park. I think George Lucas worked on this ride. and they spent a lot of money on it, but it was so terrifying and sick
Yeah,
that they had to take
that
it.
actually there's a short statement about it in my alien book here, but apparently they also had some part of that what do you call it, that ride or whatever, the props or whatever, had something about like this sort of hybrid, human alien hybrid or something too.
Yeah.
Even.
Don't forget Captain EO, because this is after Captain EO, and I actually went back in the day when they had Captain EO, so I saw it, when it was a thing, and that's all about transhumanism as well. If you've never seen it.
Never seen it. It's Michael Jackson, right?
Yeah. So no, Francis, is it Francis Ford Coppola and Lucas or some? It's like a duo that worked together
With Michael Jackson.
Yeah, with Jacko to create this ridiculous live action thing. It was. I mean, you can go watch it on YouTube. It's pretty funny to watch actually.
Oh, really?
But,
There's some mind control stuff in there too.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so in January 1995, Walt Disney World hosted a UFO convention in one of their hotels, and which was a 2-week conference on ET and UFO phenomenon. They didn't advertise it. It was kind of a inside kind of invitation only, but they had like top scientists, former military, authors, and people who are influencers. So they were ready to create something that they could bring to the public in 20 years' time or 30 years' time.
Weird.
Yeah. He said it was, the alien encounters was in the new Tomorrowland. So that's kind of telling.
Makes sense.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, because Tomorrowland is like all setting up for the future world stuff, right? With the alien stuff, I think even.
So this documentary is super creepy because it was not for children. It was scary. It had interviews with UFO alien abductees that were saying they took scoops of skin out of me and they implanted microchips in them, like your typical MUFON crazy weird.
I mean, it's like it's a hardcore piece of propaganda, and
Yeah.
it's not. Yeah, it's.
It was hosted by.
I would say it's a good piece of evidence linking Disney, MK Ultra, and aliens, which I've always thought there's a link between MK Ultra and the whole alien stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that whole Disney out there in Hollywood, that's where the foundations of NASA with JPL and Area 51 and all the atomic testing they did, like all that sort of secret-y stuff goes on in that same sort of area.
Mm-hmm. They said that the Brookings Institute warned the public that knowledge of alien life would destroy the status quo in society.
I put in my book, by the way, there's the Brookings Institute in the 1960s that came out with that report that if they promoted the idea of aliens, they could undermine traditional Western religious thought, and they could replace it with a new mythology. So there actually is white paper evidence of that.
Yeah, that's 100% where they're going with it for sure, right?
Mm-hmm. They call Washington, D.C. a cosmic crossroads.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. He quotes Ezekiel 1, which is about the
cherubim.
The wheels within wheels, trying to say this is an alien sighting.
Angels that are cherubim in the Bible, or Eric von Daniken, it's alien ships.
Yeah. What else? They were talking about Roswell. They said the aliens arrived in 1947. They're on board with the official, unofficial story that there's a government cover-up. So the whole premise of this documentary was that aliens are real and the government is trying to cover it up.
Of course.
Yeah. They're talking about military disinfo programs against the aliens.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Is this on? Did you find this on YouTube, or where do you find this?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Okay. This was like, do you remember Walt Disney?
I've heard about
presents,
this for years.
Like they would have your movie of the week or whatever, and the Tinkerbell would do her wand. Oh, you didn't watch TV. Okay, everyone else will remember, like, Sunday night or whatever, we gather around and.
Isaac grew up Amish.
Oh yeah.
Hush.
No.
I mean, that's why you're named Isaac, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ezekiel. Everybody Amish is named Isaac and Ezekiel.
They're bringing up top secret Pentagon memos about aliens. they're bringing up...
Because it's propaganda.
I know.
The whole point of the documentary is to promote it.
They had to figure out how to differentiate between a UFO and a Russian missile. Those... because they didn't want a UFO sighting to start the Cold War bombs and stuff. They're talking about alien encounters are inevitable.
Is that it? I can put it in the chat for people if they want to watch it.
Yeah, that's it. But then they say aliens could be microscopic, so there's your panspermia idea right there. Transpermia, they even are talking about, those little tardigrades and the things that they study that are super tough, that can survive like space and heat, extreme heat and cold and stuff. So they're saying these could also be an idea of alien invasion, but on a microscopic level. Yeah,
they're already prepping for that. The timing of things are curious because about 3 years ago, the chief scientist of NASA said that they're going to prove extraterrestrial life exists by 2025. Well, they have a mission going called OSIRIS-REx. Not so curious, right? That they would choose the name Osiris, but the OSIRIS-REx mission is to land a unit on some asteroid and bring it back samples that they think is going to have life forms, like bacteria life forms. That comes back in 2023. And if they haven't, and they're already talking about like with Venus, they're like, oh, we think there's, these space nerds. Oh, there's clouds out there that proves that there could be life out there, and they're going out to Europa. I mean, they're pushing this thing into overdrive.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to take of the whole thing because, like, to me, I'm with the interdimensional stuff. I think they're interdimensional beings.
Yeah, I know it's too late to add it to your book. I hate that, like, when I'm finished with a project and then you find something super juicy and you're like, oh, next time.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing a second book. I'm doing Use Your Illusion 2, where I'm studying. I'm going through films and sort of just like doing film symbolism stuff with like images from the film, and I've already got like a handful of sources for a preamble, and this is like ideally like something that would fit in there too, like a bunch of stuff that didn't quite make the cut on the first one because I was in a hurry to get this first one out because I was like, man, this thing's heating up, and like I think if the book has some ideas that end up proving true, people will sort of like warm up to some of these theories that we pitch out there.
Okay, let me power through here. It says, like I said, they were talking about the alien abduction stories, disturbing biological experiments on them. People are abducted first in their childhood and then keeps going throughout their life. They're talking about reptilians that are sexually aggressive aliens. They're talking about the praying mantis aliens that are mean, and then they have the classic gray. One abductee recited "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star," which is like super creepy. The abductees are generational, so this happens to entire families. The children are terrified of them. They have bug aliens. They say the aliens could read minds. And then at the very end, they say we could be invaded from creatures from above and below. So there's a magic phrase.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out.
Yeah.
I was looking for Orthodox in the Religion of the Future, but I can't find it. But that's a good book if nobody's seen that, because it's probably stuff from Rose covering the alien phenomenon, which I always recommend if you want a good Orthodox perspective on this.
So
yeah,
it's
I always
$9.29.
champion that book too. Yeah, I got to dip.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure as always, though, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. We'll stick around and answer
I
super
got to do the
chats.
super chats while you leave, but thanks for coming on, Isaac. And everybody follow Isaac. I'll have his links below. You can follow him on Instagram. You can go to IlluminatiWatcher.com to get his books and his works. Anything else you want to direct people to?
You can, I got this alien book that is the Kindle version's on Amazon right now. Aliens, UFOs, and the Occult. Use Illusion 1. I got the proof that I'm reworking. So the paperback version will be live. I would say give me a week. And the Audible version I've submitted. So you'll see that in October if you're an audiobook person. I think it's very good, but of course I think it's very good. So I'll let you guys determine what you think of it. But yeah, Instagram at Isaac Weishaupt, and those, all my books are on Amazon and Audible.
Awesome,
Cool,
dude.
thank you.
Thanks for coming back.
All right. Thanks, guys. Yeah, most stuff. See you guys later.
All right. Yeah. So I was getting important text messages at the beginning. I apologize for that. And then we had the internet crapping out, so I was trying to fix that. But Lone Star for $20 says, I appreciate y'all's work. Y'all, Texas drawl, but we're in Tennessee.
You say y'all.
I do.
Yeah.
Everybody in Tennessee says y'all. Do you say it yet? You're in Tennessee. I've never heard you say it.
I text it.
Okay. Gerald Norris. Wow, he's keeping us afloat tonight with $100.
Thank you.
Thank Gerald for $100.
Thank you.
Thanks for your work, he says, and keep going. We will keep going, Lord willing, as long as we can. But Gerald keeps us going, so much shout out. Fat super chat, PHAT fat from Gerald Norris. Horse that Nietzsche refused, $10. Got any bars, Queen Nausea? Go read the bars I spit against Lil AIDS, aka Tristan Haggard. That's my most recent rap, and he got demolished.
Man,
they're on Twitter.
I'm surprised that's her name because I was really not offended, but I wasn't nauseous, but it was gross. Her rap was really gross.
Who?
The one in the Beyonce movie.
Oh.
Nausea.
If you want to see my rap, you gotta you have to scroll down a little bit here. Find the battle rap exchange that Tristan and I had. Your boy Tristan, right there on my Instagram. So you can follow my Instagram and you'll go find my battle rap with Tristan. Joe G, $10. He says nothing. He says silence. Maybe he means shut the up.
Hey, dude, when you gonna shut the fuck up, huh? I told you all this. I told you already. When you gonna shut up, huh?
He's paying us $10 to stop.
So he gets a Tony Soprano for that $10.
I told you to shut up. What are you doing, huh?
That's pretty good. We're gonna do a Sopranos show.
Yeah, you shut your mouth. You shut your mouth. I'll show you the Sopranos. I'll show you a little bit of Tony Soprano, huh?
Janie Sophia. That's an interesting name.
Yeah.
$20.
Thank you.
Belated congregations. Congratulations to you and Jamie. Many years. Always a great show with Jamie and Isaac. Yes, thank you.
Thank
and
you.
When this show's over, be sure to go over to Chrissy Mayer's podcast. Shared it in the community feed on the channel. And watch the interview that I just did with her. She just posted that tonight. We got into fake flags. We got into geopolitical events, black operations, all that stuff, and the contemporary coup attempt. Coup. Janie Sophia again for $5. She says there was a Donald Duck short film. Oh, you've talked about this, haven't you?
Yeah, Donald Duck in Mathemagic Land played in my elementary math class back in the day. Looked back at it now, lots of occult imagery. Yeah, I actually used an image from that because they were talking about Pythagoras. And
I bet that's on YouTube.
Their secret handshake, and Donald Duck has a pentagram drawn on his hand when they're talking about math, and it's math magic, basically, and how the occult influences science and math. But yeah, someday we're going to do a show about all those propagandas. There's a DVD collection that I lost that I had to get it again called Walt Disney on the Front Lines, and it has all of those shorts. It has all the ones with Hitler. It has all the...
Here's Math and Magic, by the way.
Not even just the silly ones. It has like the actual propaganda films that they would show to... what do you call it? Kids in boot camp, you know, like
soldiers?
About soldiers. That's the word.
Kids in boot camp.
Soldiers, about like how to not to get venereal diseases overseas and all that.
I've seen those.
Yeah. So if you
there's some funny ones too, like educational videos about espionage that they would show the soldiers.
Yeah.
Like if you're a U.S. soldier, you may be a target of espionage. Mm-hmm. Espionage could include a swallow operation. This is a sex operative. Attractive women come up to you, and then they show this guy who's like a soldier, and then this, hey soldier,
Mm-hmm.
right? And yeah.
Well, what was interesting about one of those cartoons is the one where Donald Duck is convinced to join the army because he sees posters of soldiers with pretty ladies on their arm, and it's like, see the world, meet attractive girls, and that's what gets him to enlist. So.
All right. So thanks again to all you super chatters. A lot of fun. Apologize for not being totally attentive, but I was attentive to the chat, trying to fix the internet and trying to answer some important text messages from Beyonce herself. Queen Beyonce was messaging me and she said, "Y'all quit talking about me." I said, "I ain't talking about you, girl.
You have a curse on you now.
You can't curse me." If you curse me, you get the instead of this, you get the Diamond Dallas Page.
Yep.
You know that? Mm-hmm. Diamond Dallas Page, the whatever his move is. Instead of the Illuminati thing, you get the Diamond Dallas Page crush your backbones. All right, everybody have a good night. And next up is Sopranos, and of course part 2 of the Wim Hof book for subscribers. Subscribe to Jay's Analysis if you aren't subscribed. And then next up, we're
going to cover Tony Soprano. We're going to cover the Sopranos, you see. Yeah. Did Tony die? Did he die at the end? What do you think? And what did I tell you? What did I tell you about the death at the end? What did I tell you? What did I tell you about a spoiler? What did I tell you about a spoiler?
Well, see, it's debated, so you don't actually know.
Yeah.
Did he die? Did he not die? You don't know.
Nobody knows.
Nobody.
We have an idea.
I know.